If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know we do a cool, fun, or collectible car every Friday. If you're new to this channel, well, this is a perfect example. This is a 1998 Carrera S, the very last year for the air-cooled 911s. And if you're also new to this channel, I'll just remind you, I had two of these cars. I had a 97 C2S and a 97 C4S. So we'll get into what all of that means in just a moment. So the very last year of air-cooled 911s were sold here mostly in North America. You've got to know that the very first water-cooled cars were also introduced that year in Europe. So the actual allotment and the batch of these cars from 1998 is really quite small. And probably one of the most desirable is this car, the Carrera S. I want to thank Core Motor Cars for letting me borrow this car for the day, getting a little nostalgic. This particular model is going to be sold on Bring a Trailer, and if you've been following the air-cooled 911 craze or the Porsche craze over the last few years, you probably know that Porsche prices have gone up over the last couple of years, especially because of COVID. These older air-cooled cars have always been highly sought after, have always demanded a premium, but in the last little while they've gone another leg up in price. So they're turning into really quite collectible. So let's get inside. I'll tell you what this particular model has on it, take it for a spin, and go down memory lane with the 993. So why is a Carrera S more desirable than some of the other Carreras that were sold at the time? Well, first and foremost, it's the shape of the body. Now, if you're not really into these cars, you might not notice, but this car has the 911 turbo body. The rear fenders are flared out where you would get that with the turbo. They made that body available on the C2S and the C4S. In addition, it has a special grille at the back. It's called a split grille. It's a heritage kind of look to older Porsches. And the other cars, the regular slats went horizontally. This one, there's a break in the middle. That's something that collectors like. On top of that, the Carrera S maybe is the purest car because it's just rear-wheel drive. There's no all-wheel drive system, which added extra weight. Now, enthusiasts like this car because it's got the rear-wheel drive, it's got the wide body look, and they were limited numbers. There weren't a lot of these cars sold. There was actually more Carrera 4S's sold with the all-wheel drive. I had both. They're both great. And then there was regular Carreras and turbos and so on. But the enthusiast market is really honed in on this particular model as a very desirable one. And then when you distill it down even farther, this is the very last year for the air-cooled 911s, the end of an era and very limited production run. So let's start it up, and then I'll tell you more about it. So as we're heading out to the main road, this particular car does not have the original wheels on it. These are Porsche wheels, of course, but the original wheels sold with this car would have been called Turbo Twist. The previous owner had these wheels installed, and when it's sold, it'll have the proper wheels. And when you get inside, this one has some nice features. First and foremost, a highly desirable option are what are called hardback sport seats. They're called hardback sport seats because when you lift them forward, the backs are hard. They come with extra bolstering. This one even has the optional Porsche crest on the headrest. That was an option. And when you look forward, the original owner of this car ordered it with the white gauge cluster, which I've never seen in person before. I kind of like it. A couple of other features. This has the hi-fi sound. Now, you got to remember, this is the late 90s, not the modern stereos you get today, but you did get a speaker upgrade, more speakers in the door. And then there's the motor sound package, which really just changes the air box in the back. And you can spot that because there's a chrome ring around the air box. This is all stuff that Porsche fans nerd out on, like me. So these cars are really becoming collectible because there weren't a lot of them sold originally, and there's more eyeballs on the Porsche mark, so people are looking to pick these cars up. For example, like a Carrera S like this, they would sell the number of Porsche Carrera S's that they did in the late 90s in 1 year. They would sell that in 1 month today. So there's just a lot fewer of these around. And as I mentioned, this is kind of the purest collectible car, rear wheel drive, no nanny aids, nothing like that. It has anti-lock brakes and an airbag, and that's really all you get for advanced safety features at the time. And these cars are small. You know, you sit very close to the windshield. As a comparison, this car is about the same size as a Cayman today. So just think about how big the 911 has become. Now this car has the Vario-Ram system in the engine. It was introduced in 96, I believe, 96, and it bumped the power up from 272 horsepower to 285. Now that sounds like quite a pedestrian number by today's standards. Like you can get a Boxster with a Turbo 4 that's going to have more power than that, but that's not what this is about. This is about being connected to the car, feeling the road, shifting your own gears, and taking a trip back in time to how these cars were made for all those decades, from the early 60s up until this very year, 1998. Air-cooled, that's how they were done. So this car is coming up at 135,000 kilometers. That's just over 80,000 miles, which is very low considering the age of the car. And within the last 10,000 kilometers, or roughly 6,000 miles, it's received a new clutch, which is definitely desirable, and new suspension. This has the Bilstein PSS 10 suspension setup, which I think is fantastic for this car. It's a coilover, it's adjustable, and is a really nice match for this chassis. But the clutch is really nice. That makes all the difference with these cars if they've been maintained over the years. I always say you don't actually own one of these cars, you just take care of it for the next guy. So the current owner has gotten it ready for the next guy. So my Carrera 2S was in arena red with a black interior just like this one. And it was very low miles. When I sold it, I think it had 30,000 miles on it, just over 50,000 kilometers. The next car I had was a C4S, so this car, but the all-wheel drive version, and that had more mileage on it, very similar to this one, right around 130,000 kilometers when I sold it. And the nice thing about having a car that has been driven is that you worry about it a little bit less. If you have a real garage queen with ultra low miles on it, you're kind of hesitant to take it out. But this one's been used, it's been looked after and maintained, and someone's going to get a really nice collectible car, but one that you can still drive. That's a nice thing to have. Now some of you are probably wondering, Zach, if you love these cars so much, why did you get rid of yours? Well, the prices went through the roof several years ago, and I cashed that check and sold mine on, my last one, my Carrera 4S on, and you kind of kick yourself and go, had you held on, could you have made a lot more money? Well, yeah, but you have to maintain them. That's something to consider. But the prices of these cars have taken another leg up. As I mentioned, there's more eyes on the Porsche brand than ever before. And a lot of people who have means are going back and grabbing the cars they wish they had gotten years ago. And this one is certainly high on the list of collectability for the long run. And it's going to be interesting to see what it goes for on Bring a Trailer. So this would qualify as a low mileage example. It's got about 135,000 kilometers on the clock. That's just over 80,000 miles in the US. As I mentioned, it will be going on Bring a Trailer. And thanks again to Core Motor Cars here in Vancouver. The website's easy to remember. It's corecars.com, and I'll put the link below. So don't forget, we do a cool, fun, or collectible car every Friday on the channel. So hit subscribe and the notification bell, and I'll see you next week.